Because on paper, it looked like the perfect cinema camera. I am not in love with this camera. Most cameras that you can buy today, especially at the price point of the Canon C50, they all look fabulous. They all look fantastic. So, yeah, it has an excellent image. It's amazing. But I want to chuck it into the river every time I use it. Let me just interrupt Karaoke Pontus right there. The thing here is that I was so hyped for the Canon C50. I was absolutely flabbergasted by its performance and by its specs on paper. 4K 120, Canon RAW, 7K open gate. Like on paper, it was the perfect camera. Yet when I got it, I sold it pretty quickly after. Why? First of all, how is it compared to the Nikon ZR? From an image quality standpoint, I would argue they are about the same. The ZR does 6K, the Canon does 7K. They both record internal RAW. I would argue Red RAW is better than Canon RAW, but that is more something a colorist will care about compared to little old me. When it comes to the usability, like the ergonomics from the Canon C50 is a lot better. Holding that camera just feels absolutely right. But actually using it and actually accessing the buttons, changing settings, I vastly prefer the Nikon ZR. Lastly and most importantly, the Nikon ZR has the ginormous, absolutely humongous 4-inch screen. Which maybe you would say that isn't really that important for you. You have the 3-inch screen, you've always had the 3-inch screen, you're used to the 3-inch screen. I respect that opinion, but please have a look at the Nikon ZR and realize the biggest screen is actually pretty nice. But as I mentioned before, I did pre-order both cameras. I didn't plan on keeping both cameras, but I figured I would evaluate them and then I would sell the one that I didn't like. Now, my dear viewer, I know you are a smart person. So why did I sell the Canon C50? I'm gonna get to that a bit later, but first, let me tell you why I almost did not sell the Canon C50. My first impressions with the Canon C50 was actually quite wholesome and pretty great. I really appreciated how well built the camera is. The body is so solid and the grip is so deep and nice. You really feel like you can hold on to it for a whole day, never lose your grip. Don't really have to buy a cage for it anyway. There's so many attachment points to the camera. Not to mention that the top handle is absolutely fantastic. So my first impressions of the Canon C50 were absolutely flawless. Now, I ordered this camera back in September, basically the day after they revealed it and you could start pre-ordering it. I pre-ordered it because to me it was the perfect camera. And I waited and I waited and I waited and I got the Nikon ZR that I also pre-ordered a lot sooner and I was so impressed by that thing. Like the 4-inch screen on the Nikon ZR was huge, but I was still hyped for the Canon because how bad can a Canon be? Like, come on. Like, yeah, okay, it's a 3-inch screen. Maybe the data rates are a bit high, but it's a Canon. Like this, the R5C, the C70, legendary image, amazing image. So I waited until I got it. At the beginning of December, I got the camera. And I threw out the box, I just opened it so quickly. Pieces were flying everywhere. Okay, I was so hyped for the camera. And then the battery luckily was like 40% charged. I was like, fuck yeah, I can go out, I can do some test shots. I went out, it was kind of a Silent Hill theme. It was a really cool place I could be and actually do this thing. And then I was like, and then I was just gonna change the white balance. Because my plan was never to always shoot in RAW. I was like planning to shoot in H.265 with this camera. I could not change the white balance. Like normally on these kinds of cameras, there's a button labeled WB. You can push on the screen where it says white balance. Maybe you can use one of the dials. Maybe you have to hold the button and then use the dial. Like, you can usually figure it out. I've never had a camera I could not figure out how to change the white balance. Now, mind you, I'm not a smart guy, but still, come on. I had to look up a manual. I had to look up a bloody manual how to change the white balance, and I feel like our relationship kind of went downhill after that. Whatever the case, that set me off on a bad foot because I missed many shots just trying to set up the camera, just trying to use the camera. And I realized, yeah, Pontus, I should have stayed at home. I should have gotten myself familiar with the camera before I went out and shot with it. Absolutely. Except I've never done that. I've shot on Aris, I've shot on Reds, I've shot on Sonys, on Nikons, on other Canons. And it's just been like, okay, this doesn't work, this doesn't, oh, this works. That's how easy it normally is to change these settings, because they're so fundamental to the camera. Not on the C50. Well, anyway, moving on. So I did manage to get a couple of shots, and I rushed all the way home, just wanting to look at the footage. Maybe it was worth having such a pain in the ass camera, because the footage looks so good. So I managed to upload all of the footage onto my NAS, open it up in DaVinci, and I had a look. And yeah, Canon's colors are quite amazing, and I was perplexed by how freaking good it was. Like, the skin colors are so good. As I'm sure most of you know, Sony does kind of overemphasize the red in skin tones and make them look like they've been in the sun for far too long. Yes, sometimes you can dampen that down a bit. The thing is, if you're using a Canon C50, you're most probably a videographer. And a videographer like I am most of the time, I just want quick turnarounds. I want to throw on a Rec 09 LUT, balance the image a slight bit. I don't want to mask, I don't want to isolate certain colors. I just want the color to be really pleasing, out of the box, just ready to go. And speaking of which, the Canon C50 has one of the best colors I've ever seen. Like, you can compare it to Arri, and they would look equally as good in my opinion. So the image quality is absolutely fan-fucking-tastic on the C50. It's so good. Like, it's the 7K open gate raw recording. You just throw a Rec 709 conversion straight on the footage, and it looks so good. Which is why it hurt me so much to sell on the camera. After looking at the low light capabilities of this camera, I wasn't really that sad about selling it, because as you can see, we have a lot of blockiness going on from the raw capture. The 7K sensor almost looks like it's a blocky 400 pixel sensor, and I'm quite disappointed in it. The thing is, if you apply noise reduction, it's kind of still there anyway. So if you want to use this camera in a low light setting, if you want to use the second base ISO, honestly, shooting in RAW is not your best capability, because it's so hard to get rid of the chroma noise you have in it. And while I'm in the car, I might as well continue complaining. When it comes to the ergonomics, I'm not happy about it. The biggest problem I have is when I try to use it, it doesn't want to be used in the way that you normally use a camera. Like, the dial buttons, they're slightly moved too far, so they're not like in the natural place like most cameras have them. That is something you for sure would get used to, but also like trying to reach the buttons, it's not really that ergonomic, it's not that nice. The grip itself, just holding the camera, it's fantastic. The top handle you get with the C50, it's fan-fucking-tastic. I love that top handle. I am a real sucker for these low-hanging shots, so being able to do that, it's great, it's awesome. The thing is, it just doesn't strike me in the right way. It doesn't help me do anything better. It's just kind of in the way when I try and film stuff. For example, changing the ISO setting. Changing the base ISO should be 2 button pushes at the most. In the Canon C50, you have to go into a menu, another menu, push 2 buttons, then go all the way back to change the base ISO. I'm not a fan of that whatsoever, even though the second base ISO is 6400, which is great. It's just such a pain in the ass to change it. I never kind of did. I was just like, fuck it, I'll just push up the exposure in post. And my biggest gripe about that is that the C50 it's a small camera. It's a small-ish camera. It doesn't have any IBIS. It's a perfect camera to mount inside a car. It's a perfect camera to mount on the car, on equipment, to kind of just grip it up in various places. Except it doesn't really let you do it, because it doesn't want to be used in that way, because you grip it up, you rig it up in the backseat of a car, you cannot access it whatsoever. You want to change one setting. Yeah, honestly, the easiest way is just to take it down. I'm not a fan. Let's wrap up this video quickly. Should you buy the Canon C50 or the Sony FX3? Yes, definitely. Sony colors are meh. The Sony FX3 body is about 5 years old. The Mark II version should come out anytime now. Should you buy the Canon C50 over the Nikon ZR? If you follow my advice, no, I would pick up the Nikon ZR. It's cheaper, it's better in some ways, it has a bigger screen. There is some caveats, there is some positives, like for example with the Nikon ZR you can use Sony e-glass, And on the other hand, with the Canon C50, you can use Canon RF glass, which is also great glass, but it's quite expensive compared to the third-party options you get with the Sony E-mount. All I can say there is I picked the Nikon ZR over both the Canon C50 and the Sony FX3. Make of that what you will. If you absolutely want to stay with Canon because you have a lot of RF glass, I would probably pick up a used Canon C70 over the Canon C50. Because image quality wise they are comparable. The Canon C70 maybe it even edges it out. The C70 also has built-in ND filters. It's a Super 35 sensor, so you can use a lot more glass. Alright, okay, let's wrap this up. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate you so much. I love you so much, and I hope you have a great week, a great year, maybe even a great life. If you feel like I missed something, then please do let me know and put it down in the comments. If there's anything else you would like to see or know, put it down in the comments. If you like what I do, then put a like. If you want to see more of what I do, then subscribe. If you want a kiss, then here you go. Mwah.